I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here I am, just a guy trying to make sense of what's happened. My name's Mike, and I was married to Emily for about a year now. We met in college, and honestly, I thought we were solid. We had our ups and downs, but I always believed that Emily was different. She was smart, ambitious, and most importantly, she loved me. Or so I thought. Things started feeling off about 2 months ago. Emily became more secretive with her phone, started disappearing for hours when she said she was at work or with friends. She'd get defensive when I asked questions, saying I was being paranoid or insecure. She'd snap at me if I tried to look at her phone or if I casually brought up her plans. I figured maybe she was just stressed with her job, which she'd been working at her marketing firm for over a year. But still, something felt wrong. I'd catch her in little lies here and there, like suddenly having to stay late at work when I knew she hadn't told me about a meeting or some new guy she was texting. Then came the night I found the message. It was stupid, really. I was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone because I'd gotten suspicious. I saw a message from her boss, Mark, that said, "Can't wait to see you tonight. I'll be waiting in the usual spot after work." My stomach dropped. I didn't even know she was seeing him after hours, but that wasn't even the worst part. It was the way she responded with a quick "me too." Just gotta get through the day first. It wasn't just friendly banter, it was something more, something secretive. I felt a cold rush go through me. I couldn't believe I'd been blind this whole time. I started to piece together the little things I'd ignored. Her late nights, the way she'd dodge my questions, her sudden mood swings whenever I got too close to her phone. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what I'd seen, about how long she'd been lying to me. It was like the ground had shifted beneath my feet. Suddenly, everything I believed about our relationship was a lie. I knew I had to find out more, had to get to the bottom of this. Next morning, I decided I needed to act. I waited until she left for work, then I went through her things. I found her hiding her phone in her purse, which was suspicious enough. But then I found a set of receipts, hotel keys, a different number with no name attached, a few pictures of her in various outfits that I'd never seen before. And what really killed me? A bunch of messages from Mark, full of flirtatious comments, promises to meet up later, and even plans to leave everything behind and start fresh. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I was furious, but I also felt numb. How could she do this? How could she betray me like this? After everything we'd been through, after promising she loved me. I kept asking myself if I missed the signs, if I was just too blind to see what was happening right under my nose. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew I needed to think it through. I had to know if there was more to it, if she was actually sleeping with him, or if it was just some stupid flirtation. The truth was out there, and I was done pretending I didn't see it. I spent the rest of that day trying to process everything. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My mind kept circling back to her messages, the hotel receipts, and that gut-wrenching feeling of betrayal. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't want to do it blindly. I needed to gather my thoughts, think about what I was going to say, how I was going to handle her little lies. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I couldn't keep this bottled up. I had to face her sooner rather than later. When Emily came home that evening, she looked different, more defensive, like she was already expecting me to say something. I could see it in her eyes. The moment she stepped inside, I didn't waste any time. I handed her the receipts, the messages, and the hotel key card. Her eyes widened and her face paled. She stammered, trying to deny everything at first, flipping her story faster than I could keep up with. "Oh, come on, Mike," she snapped, crossing her arms. "You're overreacting. It's just some stupid flirtation. Nothing serious. Mark's just a boss, you know how those guys can be. I was just being nice, and he's a jerk who doesn't know how to take a hint. You're blowing this out of proportion." Her voice was defensive, bitchy even. Like I was the one overreacting, the one making a big deal out of nothing. I didn't buy it, not for a second. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Really? The hotel keys, the messages that say, 'Can't wait to see you tonight,' and your secret late-night meetings. That's just being nice. I saw the way you responded. It's not just innocent flirting, Emily, it's more than that. I found proof, and I want the truth now." She rolled her eyes, scoffing. "You're crazy if you think I've been cheating. You're just paranoid. Maybe I was talking to him about work stuff. Or maybe I was stressed out and we got a little carried away." Honestly, Mike, you're acting like a jealous idiot. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. If you think I'd do something like that, maybe you need to check yourself. Her words stung, but I could tell she was trying to gaslight me, to make me doubt what I'd seen. That pissed me off even more. I kept pushing, telling her I wasn't buying her bullshit anymore, that I'd seen enough to know she'd been lying for months. She kept denying, calling me insecure, saying I was imagining things. But I knew better. I saw the secret messages, the hotel receipts, and her stupid attitude that changed completely when she thought I wasn't paying attention. I felt a strange mix of anger, heartbreak, and disgust. How could she do this? How could she lie to my face like this? Her reaction only made me angrier. She started screaming, accusing me of spying on her, calling me controlling. "You're just jealous because I have a life of my own," she yelled. "You don't own me, Mike. I'm not some perfect little wife you think I am. Maybe I need someone who actually trusts me instead of accusing me of cheating every 5 seconds." That was it. I knew I couldn't just stay quiet anymore. I told her I needed some space, that I wasn't going to stay in a marriage where I was constantly doubting her, constantly feeling like I was walking on eggshells. That night, I packed a bag and left her apartment. I didn't sleep that night either, but I kept replaying everything in my head. I thought about all the times I'd ignored those little warning signs, all the moments I'd dismissed her shady behavior, and I wondered how I'd been so blind to the truth for so long. That confrontation was just the beginning of what was to come. I didn't know what I was going to do next, but I knew one thing. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. Not without a fight. I deserved better, and deep down, I knew I'd eventually have to decide whether to fight for the marriage or walk away for good. My trust was shattered, and I was hurt in ways I couldn't even put into words. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I knew I wasn't going to forget what she did, and I was determined to figure out my next move. The days that followed were a blur of anger, confusion, and a terrible sense of betrayal. I moved out of her apartment into a place nearby just so I could have some space to breathe and think. Honestly, I'd never felt so gutted and furious in my life. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her messages, her smug face when she lied to me, the way she dismissed everything I said like I was nothing. It's like my whole world had crumbled overnight. I kept replaying that night over and over, trying to find some kind of explanation that wouldn't make me want to scream. But there was none. She lied, she cheated, and she did it with her boss, someone she claimed to hate working with, someone she supposedly couldn't stand. Yet there they were, sneaking around in secret, pretending everything was normal. Honestly, I felt like a fool for not seeing it sooner. I was so blinded by love and trust that I missed all the signs until it was way too late. The worst part was the realization that she had lied so much that I didn't even know who she was anymore. Emily had always been a little bitchy, sure, but I thought that was just her personality. I never imagined she was capable of this kind of deception, of hiding a whole secret life behind my back. It hurt to think about how she'd been manipulating me, playing the innocent wife while she was out screwing her boss. That thought made my stomach turn every time. I started to question everything. Did she ever really love me? Was I just some placeholder while she waited for Mark to finish playing his little game? How long had she been lying? I found myself obsessively checking her social media, trying to find more clues, more evidence. I even contacted a private investigator friend of mine just to see if there was more to the story. Turns out there was. I found out she'd been meeting Mark for months, sometimes multiple times a week. And yes, that included nights when she'd tell me she was working late or out with the girls. I felt betrayed all over again, like I'd been living in some kind of nightmare. Then I decided to reach out to her boss, Mark. I figured hearing it from someone else might give me some clarity. I scheduled a meeting under the pretense of a casual coffee. When I sat across from him, he didn't deny a thing. Instead, he looked at me with a smirk and said, "Yeah, Emily's been pretty good at hiding her true colors. We've been sleeping together for a while now. She's not the innocent girl you think she is." Those words hit me like a punch to the stomach. I'd suspected it, but hearing it from him made it real. She'd lied to me about everything, including her feelings, her loyalty, her entire life. I left that meeting feeling even more broken. The betrayal wasn't just emotional anymore. It was almost physical, like someone had reached inside my chest and ripped my heart out. I couldn't believe I'd trusted her so blindly, and now I was left with this mess of feelings, anger at her, disgust at myself for not noticing sooner, and a deep sadness that I'd lost someone I thought I knew. I'd always believed love was about trust, but I realized I'd been naive. Love doesn't mean anything if the foundation was built on lies. That night I finally broke down. I cried for the first time in years, just sitting in my new place, staring at the ceiling, trying to understand how everything fell apart so fast. I kept asking myself if I was better off without her, if I should just cut ties and move on. I knew I couldn't stay in that limbo. I had to make a choice. I kept thinking about all the moments I'd ignored, the little things I'd brushed off, and how I'd convinced myself I was lucky to have her. But now, all I saw was a woman who lied, cheated, and betrayed me for months. That realization made me question everything about my own judgment. In the end, I knew I had to do what was best for me, no matter how much it hurt. I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with her lying in my face or the thought of her with someone else. I had to find a way to pick myself up, rebuild what I lost, and learn from this disaster. I started thinking about the future, about whether I could ever trust again or if I'd carry this scar forever. But one thing was clear. The person I was before her betrayal was gone, replaced by someone who finally saw the truth. And that truth was brutal. The following weeks were a whirlwind of emotions. I threw myself into work, trying to distract myself from the chaos in my mind, but it was impossible to ignore what I'd uncovered. The betrayal haunted me everywhere, every song I heard, every corner of my apartment, every time I looked at my phone and saw her name. The rage simmered just beneath the surface, but I also felt a deep, aching sadness that I'd lost not just my wife but the person I thought I knew. I started to reflect on the entire relationship, questioning how I missed so many signs, how I convinced myself she was perfect. It was a painful process, realizing how much I'd been blind to her true nature. She'd always been bitchy, yes, but her lies went far beyond that. She was manipulative, playing the victim when I called her out, twisting her words and always managing to turn the situation around on me. It was classic gaslighting, and I was just too naive to see it at first. One day, I decided I needed to confront her again, not just to get closure but to hear her side. I called her on the phone. Her voice was defensive, but there was also an edge of arrogance, like she was already expecting me to beg her to come back. I kept it simple, asked her why she did it, why she lied. Her answer was a textbook display of bullshit. "Mike, you're just insecure. I never cheated. I don't know what you're talking about. I was stressed at work and Mark just happened to be there. It meant nothing. You're overreacting because you don't understand how women can be independent and want some space." I listened to her ramble, feeling my stomach knot tighter with every word. That it meant nothing line. That was the biggest lie I'd ever heard. She told me she was just venting, just fooling around for fun, that she never saw it going anywhere. But I knew better. I'd seen the messages. I knew the truth was staring right at me, and her denial was only making me angrier. I told her I wasn't buying her lies anymore, that I had proof, and I was done being played for a fool. Her reaction was classic Emily. She started crying, blaming me for being controlling, accusing me of invading her privacy, and saying I was just jealous because Mark was more successful than I was. She called me petty and possessive, like I was the problem. Honestly, hearing her say all that just made me more determined to end this once and for all. I couldn't stand her manipulative attitude anymore, her bitchy tone, or her constant lying. That night, I made the decision to file for divorce. I knew I deserved better than a wife who lied and cheated behind my back. I wanted to cut all ties, burn that chapter of my life down, and start fresh. It wasn't easy, nothing about this was, but I knew it was the right choice. I didn't see a way back from all the hurt, and I was tired of feeling like I was living in a nightmare. I had to reclaim my life, even if it meant demolishing what I thought was my future with Emily. I went to see a lawyer the next day. We started the paperwork and I told her I wanted a clean break, no messy custody battles, no drawn-out fights. I just wanted out. I also reached out to a couple of friends I trust, guys I knew wouldn't judge me. And I told them everything. To my surprise, a few of them told me stories about their own relationships, things I'd never known, secrets they'd kept. And it made me realize I wasn't alone in this kind of betrayal. That helped me see that even though it hurt like hell, I could survive this. Now I'm in this strange limbo, waiting for the divorce to finalize, trying to heal, trying not to drown in the pain of being betrayed so badly. I've come to accept that Emily was never the person I thought she was. She was manipulative, selfish, and she used me as a backup plan while chasing someone else. I feel foolish for trusting her, but I also feel a strange sense of relief. This was a wake-up call, one I won't ignore again. I learned that love can be a lie if you're not careful. And honestly, I'm just trying to find my footing again, trying to rebuild myself from the wreckage she left behind. It's going to take time, but I know I'll get through this. The process of moving on has been the hardest thing I've ever done. I never thought I'd be here, shattered and questioning everything I believed about love and trust. The divorce was finalized a few weeks ago, and honestly, it felt like shedding a skin I'd been wearing for too long. That part of my life is over, but the scars remain. Every day is a new challenge. Sometimes I wake up angry, sometimes just numb. But I know I have to keep going. One thing I've realized is how much this experience has changed my perspective on relationships. I used to think that love was about trust and loyalty, but now I see it's also about self-respect. I let myself be blind for too long, thinking that somehow her lies wouldn't hurt me as much as they did. But they did. They cut deep, and I had to face the fact that I was better off without someone who only cared about herself and her secret affairs. It's a harsh lesson, but one I desperately needed. In the process of healing, I've been focusing on myself, getting back into hobbies I abandoned, reconnecting with friends I'd ignored, and trying to rebuild my confidence. I never realized how much I'd given up just to keep her happy, only to find out she'd been using my love as a cover for her lies. That realization fuels my desire to be better, stronger. I want to be the kind of man who isn't easily fooled again, who can spot the warning signs early and walk away before getting hurt that badly. I've also started dating casually. Nothing serious, just trying to remind myself that I'm still capable of love, still worthy of someone who actually values me. It's weird at first, trusting again after all this, but I don't want to shut myself off forever. I've learned that sometimes the best way to heal is to open up slowly, test the waters, and see what the future holds. I know I'll never forget what Emily did, but I refuse to let her define my happiness anymore. I want to build something real, something based on honesty. Sometimes I think about confronting her again, just to see if she's truly sorry or if she's moved on. But then I remind myself, she's not worth my energy anymore. I've wasted enough time on her lies. The truth is, I don't even hate her that much anymore. I just feel sorry for her, for someone so full of manipulation and insecurity that she had to cheat and lie to feel better about herself. I hope she learns how to be honest someday, but I doubt I'll ever see that change. The biggest lesson I've taken from all this: never ignore your gut. I should have listened to my instincts from the beginning. The signs were there, but I convinced myself I was being paranoid. Now I understand that trust is sacred, and once it's broken, it's almost impossible to fix. But I also believe in second chances, just not with the wrong people. I know I'll find someone someday who's worthy of my trust, who won't lie or cheat behind my back. For anyone reading this who's going through something similar, I'll say this: don't stay stuck in the pain. It might hurt like hell at first, but you will get through it. Focus on yourself, rebuild your confidence, and learn to love again, on your own terms. The scars will remind you of what you've survived, but they don't have to define you. You're stronger than the betrayal, and someday, you'll look back at this and see it as a chapter that made you better, wiser, and more resilient. Trust takes time, but it's worth it. Just don't lose sight of your worth along the way. Now, looking back, I realize how much I've grown from this nightmare. The pain of betrayal doesn't go away overnight, but I've learned to live with it, to accept that it's part of my story now. I've come to understand that love isn't just about finding someone who makes you happy, but about trusting that person enough to believe in their honesty, even when the truth hurts. Emily taught me that lesson the hard way, but I won't let her betrayal define my future. I've been rebuilding my life piece by piece. I started investing more in myself, reconnecting with old friends, and even taking up new hobbies. I've gone from feeling like a shell of myself to someone who's finally starting to feel alive again. The scars remain, sure. They'll probably stay with me forever, but they're also reminders of my resilience. I survived something I never thought I'd face, and in doing so, I learned more about what I want and what I refuse to accept. One thing I've realized is that happiness isn't about finding the perfect person, but about being the best version of yourself first. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's tough to rebuild, but not impossible. I still believe love can be real, but I'm more cautious now. I won't rush into anything, and I won't ignore the warning signs again. I've learned that self-respect and honesty are what truly matter. To anyone reading this who's going through a similar betrayal, know that you're not alone. It hurts like hell, and the pain might feel endless, but it's temporary. Take the time you need to grieve, to heal, and to rediscover yourself. Don't let someone else's lies crush your spirit. You're worth more than that. One day, you'll look back at this and realize it was a painful chapter, but also a turning point. A moment when you decided to stand up for yourself, to refuse to be a victim of deception. I don't regret what happened, even if I wish it hadn't. It's made me stronger. It's shown me what real loyalty looks like and what it doesn't. I learned to listen to my gut, to trust myself again, and to never settle for less than honesty and respect. I may be hurt, but I'm also hopeful. Hopeful that someday, someone will come into my life who truly values me, who I can trust without doubt. So if you're reading this and feeling broken, remember, you're stronger than your pain. Take your time, heal your wounds, and never forget your worth. Love is out there, just make sure it's built on honesty, not lies. Keep fighting for yourself, because life is too precious to waste on someone who doesn't see your value. And trust me, the best is still to come.